All right, hey, aloha guys, got another video for you. I'm getting quite a few questions about two releases that I did a video on, and those two releases are the Nock On offerings for a resistance type release. The first one being the wrist strap, the Backstrap that they offer, and the Silverback handheld release. One of the questions was, how do I decide which one is for me? Which resistance release is right for you? And I think that's a pretty complex question, especially if you're a beginner to this and you don't really know what your preferences are. So in this video, I want to talk about maybe some things to consider in selecting which release is for you. Maybe both of them are for you. In this case, I have them both, but I'm actually borrowing this one from my friend Riley. Thank you, Riley, for letting me use it. And let's get into the video. All right, now just to reiterate, what is a resistance release? You guys can kind of scroll back into my previous videos where I did a review of both of these releases, or even shooting some of it, and you can see how it works. But basically, it doesn't work by pressing a trigger really. It works by building pressure on the back of the bow. So real quick, just explain it here. And if you're trying to decide between the two, I'm assuming in this video that you have already made a decision for your archery shooting that you want to learn a back tension type of shot. Now, the backstrap release is a wrist strap, index finger type of release, so it can be adjusted to fire, by pressing on the trigger. But in this case, it is in resistance or back tension mode, so to speak. And I'll just real quick go over that here. So finger off the trigger here. I'm just gonna draw my bow real quick. Right, I'm on the back wall here, kind of feeling it out. Try to come close enough so you guys can see it. But basically, I'm gonna anchor in. Okay, I'm gonna press the trigger. You see I press the trigger and nothing fired, right? Nothing firing here. That's because it's a resistance type, so you have to continue to pull on the bow and it'll fire as you're holding the trigger down. Basically, that gets you away from saying now, and instead of triggering a shot, basically you're firing with your form, progressing the form. You keep pulling on the bow, steady the bow, boom, it fires on its own. That's the surprise shot that, if you watch the Ali videos or anybody professional videos that might talk about that is the surprise shot. You're not really triggering it. You're learning how to use your form and the build of pressure to fire the bow. Now, if you've made that decision for yourself that you're going to use a resistance release, be it one of the two, and there are other manufacturers as well. I think Stanislavski also makes a version of a resistance type, and there may be others. I'm not so much a gear junkie really, but I'm just trying to give you my take on these two type of releases and who they may be for. So most of this question that I get generally comes from the bow hunter minded question. So a lot of bow hunters are mostly using an index finger type of trigger. They draw it back, put the pin in the middle, and punch the trigger, or maybe squeeze the trigger, or wherever their level of proficiency or how they do it is with. In this case, if you're going to learn resistance, you're going to press the trigger down and keep pulling until it fires for the surprise shot. In a bow hunter situation, basically what that does is it will force you to have to maintain form and maintain some kind of consistent pressure in the bow for you to press that trigger and not have it fire yet, one, and then two, for you to actually build pressure until it fires and you make a perfect shot on the animal. What triggering the shot does for some bow hunters is in the moment of super anxiety, or maybe in awkward positions or whatever it may be, sometimes their form will change. The mental state freaking out changes the physical state. The shoulders may be scrunched, things may be weird, and if you're still able to just punch a trigger away, yeah, your pin and everything may have been in the middle, but you're likely not going to hit where you sight your bow in at home. You're probably not going to shoot the same point of impact when you go out hunting, and you shoot all inconsistently very different. So the resistance release is going to teach you how to maintain that kind of consistency, because if you don't maintain that kind of consistency, it's not going to work out so well for you. So I also advise my friends that are using these things to even take it out hunting, yeah, there's the ethic thing about you should always practice at home, and definitely practice, of course, practice at home till you're super proficient with it. However, the proof is in that moment of truth, is when that animal is standing in front of you within your effective range, where in the past, you freak out, or you make a less than par shot for yourself. Using these releases, you're going to draw back, and say you get on the trigger and it fires too early. Obviously in that jacked up moment, you're pulling a lot harder on the ball. You got more energy into it, which is an inconsistency in form based on how you shoot at home, because it doesn't fire at home, but you go to the field and it fires early. So that's one inconsistency. And my own personal experience, I hunted with the Silverback for probably a year, maybe almost 2 years solid. Shot nothing else. I mean, I did yo-yo around here, but I did at one point just make a commitment to only hunt with this. And in that, a few animals, maybe 3 or 4, I sent an arrow over the back because I was pulling so hard that when I let off the safety, it fired prematurely and sent that arrow. So that let me know, hey, I was not consistent with my form, how I shoot at home. I'm in the field, I'm very different, and it taught me a serious lesson. Now, yeah, it was in the field, but that's where the practice happens, and you're gonna have to make that commitment for yourself. But back to selecting, I would say if you had to pick, say you're a hunter with the index finger type, and you want to learn the back tension quicker, or the resistance type of shooting faster, I feel the backstrap release, because it's already in a wrist strap fashion. This one is a little different. This one's got a buckle, so if people notice that, my buddy Riley put his buckle on here, and in my opinion, I think the buckle is a little bit more consistent in setting it up, because there's holes instead of you twisting that tension wrist strap thing that it normally comes with. But anyway, I digress. But getting back to it, if you've been shooting an index finger your whole life, and you don't have a whole lot of, you want some quicker, you want to learn this as fast as you can without having to learn how to shoot a handheld, how to hold it properly and how to get relaxed with it, then I would say go for the backstrap. Read the instructions, watch all these videos, whatever, learn how to adjust it. But basically adjust that, and then, go at home and blank barrel really close, and get used to building pressure and pulling through the shot. Not going to get too much detail in that, but I would say maybe go with this. Now, I do wanted to share something for the bow hunter, because bow hunters, we're going to be using broadheads when we shoot these releases in the field. I do want to share one thing that I don't think, well, I haven't seen a whole lot of videos, or I haven't seen one yet that covers one little nuanced thing about the backstrap that I'll get into when I shoot it a little bit and show you guys. But it doesn't concern target guys so much, but it will concern bow hunters, especially bow hunters that use fixed blade broadheads and things like that. Basically, my experience has been when I shoot it, the point of impact on resistance activated versus trigger activated is different left or right. And I don't know if it's going to be the same here, because it's not mine, but when I did use it for the review video, I did experience that. And I'll see if I can reproduce that here, and then share with you guys, some thoughts on how that will affect the bow hunter. Now into the Silverback release, I think, if you're gonna spend the time, like, okay, say you're an index finger shooter, and you have a lot of time and commitment to really get into this deep, in my opinion, right? Like, there's levels to everything, folks, and you got to be really honest with yourself. But if you're that serious bow hunter that you want the utmost accuracy, I'm not saying this is not accurate, right? But what I'm saying is that this release may be a little more versatile in learning how to use back tension and also using it in the field. And that is linked to that nuance thing I talked about this, which I'll get into when I shoot it. But anyway, if you already shoot a handheld, great option to try to learn resistance type shot or a back tension type shot. You're shooting a thumb trigger already or whatever. Or if you have a lot of time, I would say shoot the Silverback if you can really commit to it. I don't know, it is a lot of personal preference. I shot my whole bow hunting life. Right? You see I'm shooting right-handed, left-handed now, but I shot all right-handed before. I shot an index finger trigger my my whole bow hunting life, I basically got really proficient at punching a trigger. And you could do that, which is fine. You know, again, it's all up to you what you guys want to do with this. I'm not saying there's one right way or wrong way. I'm just, you know, giving you my take on it, and hopefully, you know, if you're stuck somewhere, hopefully this will help you improve a little bit. But again, I have used the Silverback for hunting quite a bit. I mean, I can use it right now if I want to, but you know, I do use my trigger, my thumb trigger, knock to it, or other options as well. But this is pivotal for me learning how to shoot a resistant shot. It was pivotal for me to learn in the moment of truth when I'm hunting. Am I hard on the wall? Am I soft? What was going on? I found out I'm jacked up. I basically pull really hard. I would let off the safety and it fired too early. And I had to learn over time on the next few opportunities on animals, on game, to, hey, draw back, okay, you know, check in, take your time. Like, don't just go into autopilot mode and fire that arrow. And I think a lot of bow hunters, they get into autopilot mode, like, just do it quickly, here's your opportunity, boom. But really, you got to take a step back and stop and, you know, deliberately do all of your steps and everything. And then, you know, you can make that perfect shot that you make in your backyard now in the field. So other than, you know, handheld versus wrist strap, there's not really much difference. The mechanics are the same. So again, it's personal preference, but I'm going to show you one nuanced thing with it. Let's see if it shows up. I'm not sure if it's going to show up, but basically I'm going to show you with the backstrap. When I shoot it in resistance mode, it shoots, I can't remember, one side left or right of the target, and then in trigger mode it shoots left or right of that impact as well. And that will have implications for your fixed blade broadheads and even for mechanical broadheads, because they do have a little bit of blade surface, and I'll get into that. It's a little technical, but I think it's something that even if you're a beginner, you should know about before making that choice, or at least before you take your broadheads in the field and start, you know, hunting with this thing. Okay, gang, I want to talk a little bit about that nuance thing. So I'm gonna take a couple shots at, it's about 40 yards. So I'm just going to use my 40-yard pin with the backstrap in resistance mode. Then I'm going to swap it over into trigger punch mode or whatever and take 2 shots, and then kind of show you the difference in the point of impact. Mind you, this is not my release. It's a little rusty, so not making excuses yet, but I'm just going to try to do this real life, no BS, and then shoot it, and then we'll talk about maybe the implications if I do see the same thing happen again that had happened when I first did the review of this release. So. Okay, now I'm convert it over to trigger punch, and let's see. And converting over, it's pretty quick. I think all it really takes is two hex keys here. If I can just get them on the package. So here we go. So we take it out of, take the set screw off it, and then we'll just turn it counterclockwise out a bit so that the tension is not enough to hold the string back when I press the trigger. Maybe I'll just go flush with the body, see if that works. Hopefully it works. I don't know, it's not my release, but anyway, I want to give you an honest, no BS assessment here, so nothing's doctored up or cut or anything like that. Okay, let's fire 2 shots with this. I hope it fires. Or maybe you'll see me do a full target panic action freak out, right? Okay, let's do it. I haven't shot an index finger trigger since that review, so let's see how it goes. Shot there. Kind of see them. I think I'm seeing the same thing. So let's see here. Okay, let's go check them out. Okay folks, we're at the target. Shots were about 40 yards. I didn't rangefinder it, I just used my 40-yard pin. I aimed for the middle, of course, of the center of this target. And in the resistance activated mode, the first two shots were these two that are slightly more right of these other two arrows. So these two were in the resistance mode shooting, and these two, let me pull it out here a little bit, see it better. And these two were in the trigger punch mode or index finger activated. So you can kind of see that there's a bit of a left and right disparity. I mean, we're talking maybe 3 inches or so is the difference. You know, 3 inches in resistance mode, it shoots about 3 inches right of index finger trigger mode for me. And there's some implications with that if you're a bow hunter. So you know, if you're gonna, now you can just sight it in differently when you're shooting targets or something like that, just to learn the principles. But if you're bow hunting and you have blades on the front of this arrow, or a broadhead that's a little bit different than a point, basically, if I were to shoot a fixed blade, say I'm tuned up for these arrows that are, you know, fairly close in the middle, I don't even shoot this release. So obviously there's variation as well. I typically shoot a thumb trigger, but you know, if I were to shoot a fixed blade broadhead or something like that in this scenario, using resistance mode that hits way right like this, these are field points. It's highly likely that had I been shooting a fixed blade broadhead, even a small one, it might be way on the edge of this target, or even maybe off of it, just because it's coming off the bow with the head facing toward the right, which is, you know, kind of steering off in this direction. You put blades and a broadhead on the front of that, it's only going to exacerbate it. And the further you go down range, it'll get further away. So what I'm saying here is, you know, if you're used to index finger mode hunting with it, that's fine. Sight it in, tune your bow, get your broadheads, fine, good with that. However, if you just swap it over to resistance mode suddenly, and you want to try to shoot it in resistance mode, you may get a left, or I'm a left-handed shooter, so I'm guessing, you know, I'm shooting to the right here, and maybe a right-handed shooter, you might end up on the left, but you may get left and right variation in it. Your results may vary, of course. You're not my body, you're not my bow, but for my setup and what I have, this is the variation that I get. So, you know, if you're a beginner thinking about this, this may be something that I may not be able to tune a broadhead to it in the resistance mode, just because of how large the variation is, or just, you know, a lot of that has to do with the way the release is designed, with the way the hook opens up and lets go of the string. It can let go of it in a different manner, which will send your arrows off in a different manner downrange. Now this is super kind of complicated for this video, but I wanted to put that information out there because I don't think it's something that people are really talking about or saying, or if it is, it's something that you're gonna see with trial and error. But before that trial and error comes to you guys, you have it. I showed it to you a little bit here, so your results may vary, just know that. Okay guys, so yeah, that was reiterating 2 shots in resistance mode, 2 shots in trigger mode, and you saw the left and right variation. Your results may vary again. I just want to reiterate that, but that's what I see pretty consistently, and that's what I saw when I did the review video as well. So you're gonna have to, it's a little complicated for the beginner, but you're gonna have to take that into consideration if you want to hunt with it. It may be that in resistance mode, however that jaw opens up, it may be more difficult to tune with a fixed blade broadhead or something like that, or your tune with broadheads may change, and your point of impacts may change pretty dramatically going between the modes. So if you're wanting to hunt between the modes, just know that you might not just want to swap them over into 2 different modes and expect you know, the same point of impact downrange. Now, you're probably, maybe some of you who are a little more detail inclined are probably wondering, well, what about the thumb trigger? This is my thumb trigger I typically hunt with, my Nock to it, and the Silverback. Do these change point of impact? And I think you've seen a lot of videos with Dudley shooting his, and his doesn't change point of impact, and I'm pretty sure mine doesn't either. I'll go and try to shoot it and show you guys, but basically the beauty of that is when I screw on a broadhead or something like that, it should end up going in the same place, you know. The tune shouldn't change too much and all of those things. Whereas I would see more variation in tune change, changing the modes with the backstrap. But that's not saying this is a poor release. This is a great release. And if this is the way you got to learn resistance because you shoot a wrist strap and that's the kind of shot you want to learn and get really accurate with it, by all means, this is a great product. I like it. I can't believe, I'm sure there are others in the market before it. I just can't believe it took so long for the archery market to actually go ahead and make one of these for so many wrist strap shooters out there. But anyway, I'll go ahead and shoot shoot those 4 arrows with these two, and let's see if we get any difference. And you know, I can tell you why it probably doesn't have much difference, because if you look at the zoom in here, if you look at the way the jaws are set up, this jaw opens this way, and including the Nock to it, if you look at it, it also opens this way. So it should theoretically release the string back here in the same fashion, which sends the arrow tune downrange in the same fashion. So let's shoot a few. Shoot the Nock to it now. You can see they're not hitting the middle, but I can see that they're super consistent in the same place. So that's all that matters. Haven't shot the bow in a while, but anyway, I'll show you guys after this last shot. Okay, some of it is me, I can tell. Haven't shot the bow in a while, like I said, and my form has changed, just not shooting. So I kind of changed my form a little bit on the last shot and had some variation downrange, so let's go see. Okay guys, we're at the target here at roughly 40 yards, but anyway, show you guys real quick so you can kind of see. I got a pretty tight, pretty decent group here at 40, and then I tell you that last shot, you know, I'm rusty. I changed my form a little bit to how I normally shoot, I guess, and back in the middle. But, you know, you can see that varying between the two releases, my thumb trigger and my Silverback, you know, is not as much variation in the point of impact as, you know, switching over that backstrap from resistance to index finger activation. So anyway, I just wanted to make a quick video on that, and hopefully that explains some of the nuance difference there, and maybe it'll be useful for you guys out there into the future. I'll make some more videos later, get a little bit in depth, get as basic as you can, but hopefully that helps.